There's a certain kind of disappointment that only comes from something being almost great. Not bad, not even average, but just close enough to excellence that every flaw stands out sharper than it otherwise would. That's exactly where Project Hail Mary lands for me. Now, going into this movie, I wasn't particularly excited. I had seen the trailers, I knew the premise, but nothing about it really grabbed my attention until people I actually trust started putting it on their must-watch list. One of them even suggested something specific: read the book first. So I did, and that changed everything. Hey everyone, this is Chris Bolts, and I'm coming in with my review of Project Hail Mary. Now before I do get into the content, do make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that stuff really does help me out. Now, the novel Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir is quite simply incredible. From the very first page, you're thrown into confusion alongside Ryland Grace, a man who wakes up alone on a spacecraft with no memory of who he is or why he's there. The story doesn't just tell you what's happening, it forces you to discover it with him. That structure is everything. The flashbacks aren't just exposition. They are carefully placed revelations that reshape your understanding of the present. Every recovered memory feels earned. Every realization hits with weight. And because the story is told entirely from Grace's perspective, you live inside his head. You feel his uncertainty, his fear, his curiosity, and eventually his hope. That becomes even more important when we're introduced to Rocky. Rocky isn't just a supporting character, he's the emotional core of the story, a being completely alien in biology and culture, yet somehow capable of forming one of the most genuine friendships you'll find in science fiction. Their relationship builds slowly, carefully, logically, and by the time it fully forms, it feels real. That's why I strongly recommend read the book, because once you do, the movie becomes a very different experience. Now let's be clear right away. Project Hail Mary, the movie, is not bad. In fact, it's a good movie, but it is not the masterpiece that many people are calling it. And that gap largely comes from how it handles the source material. And if this criticism sounds familiar, it's because I've said something very similar before when talking about Shane. The difference is, this time, the damage isn't as severe. Where Shane felt like it lost the spirit of its source, Project Hail Mary keeps enough of it intact to remain enjoyable, but it still falls short. Let's start with Ryland Grace, played by Ryan Gosling. In the book, his awakening is slow, disorienting, and deeply uncomfortable. He doesn't just wake up and start functioning. He struggles. He can barely move. He can't speak properly. He doesn't understand what's happening to him. And that matters because those early moments establish his vulnerability and ground the entire story in realism. The movie compresses this dramatically. Now, I understand the why. Film has time constraints. You can't spend multiple chapters on a man relearning how to use his body. But the trade-off is significant. By speeding through that process, the movie loses the psychological weight of his situation. Instead of feeling like a man clawing his way back to consciousness after years in a coma, he feels like someone who just needed a few minutes to shake it off. And for some viewers, that creates a disconnect. Then we have Strat. In the book, Strat is one of the most compelling characters, not because she's likable, but because she's necessary. She is cold, direct, and unapologetically pragmatic. She doesn't care if people like her, she cares about saving humanity. And the book takes time to justify that mindset. You understand why she is the way she is, even if you don't agree with her. In the movie, that edge is softened. She's more approachable, more personable, and at times, even charming. And that fundamentally changes her role in the story. Because Strat isn't supposed to comfort you, she's supposed to challenge you. She represents the harsh reality of what it takes to make impossible decisions. By making her more relatable, the film loses that tension. Then there's the addition of Carl, a character created entirely for the movie. He serves as a companion to Riley and Grace during the Earth sequences, someone to talk to, someone to connect with. And on paper, I understand the reasoning. Film audiences often respond better when the protagonist isn't isolated. But here's the issue. In the book, Grace is isolated. That solitude is part of his character. It shapes how he thinks, how he problem solves, and how he eventually bonds with Rocky. By adding Carl, the movie changes that dynamic. And while the relationship works on the surface level, it lacks the depth needed to justify its impact. There's no extended exploration of how that connection influences Grace long term. It fills space, but it doesn't add weight. Now we need to talk about Rocky, because this is where the movie both succeeds and stumbles in my view. The relationship between Grace and Rocky is still there. The emotional core is intact. You still understand what they mean to each other, but the execution is different. In the book, Rocky comes off as precise, efficient, and highly intelligent. Every word he learns, every question he asks feels deliberate. Communication is a challenge, and that challenge is part of what makes their bond so powerful. In the movie, Rocky becomes far more expressive, far more talkative, and far more immediate in his understanding of English. And while that makes the dialogue more accessible, it comes at a cost. He feels less like a brilliant alien mind adapting to a foreign language, and more like a character designed to entertain. At times, he's even played for laughs, and that undercuts the sense of capability that defines him in the book. This pattern continues throughout the film, where there's the loss of meaning from the book transitioning over to the movie. Characters are altered, some are removed entirely, new scenes are added, while important moments of growth are either shortened or omitted. Individually, these changes might seem minor, but collectively, they shift the tone of the story. And then we reach the ending. The movie stays relatively faithful here, but even so, it doesn't carry the same weight as it did in the book, because the impact of that ending depends on everything that came before it. And when key emotional beats are softened or rushed, the payoff simply doesn't hit as hard. So where does that leave Project Hail Mary in my view? It is a good movie. It's well acted, it's engaging, it tells a compelling story. The set pieces are phenomenal. They're real set pieces. There's no special CGI that's been used or anything like that to the extent that you see in other big blockbuster movies. And Rocky is a fun character to watch on the big screen. But it's also a reminder of how difficult it is to adapt something that relies so heavily on internal perspective and gradual discovery. If you haven't read the book, you'll probably enjoy this movie quite a bit. But if you have, you'll see what's missing. And that missing piece is what keeps this from being something truly special. And for that, I give Project Hail Mary an 8 out of 10. Not excellent, and definitely not a masterpiece, but it is definitely good and worth your time, and it is a really good family-friendly movie. So, have you guys seen Project Hail Mary? Have you read the book Project Hail Mary? If so, what are your thoughts on the movie and on the book? Jump down in the comments and let me know what you guys think. And make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that stuff really does help me out. And remember, this is Chris Boat signing off, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take it easy.